welcome or welcome back. My name is Chelsea, and today we're going to be discussing my 2026 anticipated releases. As I was putting this list together, I started getting really excited. I had not realized how many books are coming out in 2026 that I am excited to read, that are sequels. Most of the books on here are sequels or are written by an author that I have really loved some of their other work. I started getting really excited as I went through and researched what books are coming out next year. Looks like there's going to be a lot of really good stories to read. Between this and my 26 books I want to read in 2026, I have half of what I read this year already picked out for next year, which is a little daunting to have half of your books already kind of planned for the year. So I have 14 anticipated releases. And then the 26 books in 2026 is 40 books. So I will have read 80 by the end of this year. And I am anticipating that I will read this about the same amount next year. So half of my books are picked out already for 2026. Hi, Peachers. Hi, baby. You say hi? Peach is back. All right, so first we have on January 20th, 9 Goblins by T. Kingfisher. I have really liked a number of books by T. Kingfisher. I really liked Nettle and Bone and A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking. Their humor just really works for me. I find the stories really enjoyable. The side characters are super fun. And there's some found family elements. And sometimes they're just a little wacky. A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking has a sentient sourdough starter, and the main character is just a baker with some minor magic who is basically an unlikely hero. So now there is a book I have read by T. Kingfisher, and I cannot remember the name, but it was a novella, and it was kind of based on a fairy tale, and that was not my favorite, but I'm hoping that this will be fun. It sounds more in the line of what A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking is, more that type of humor. So I'm really looking forward to that one. So the full title is 9 Goblins, A Tale of Low Fantasy and High Mischief. It says, no one knows exactly how the Goblin War began, but folks will tell you that goblins are stinking, slinking, filthy, sheep-stealing, hen-house raiding, obnoxious, rude, and violent. Goblins would actually agree with all this and might throw in cowardly and lazy too for good measure. But goblins don't go around killing people for fun, no matter what the propaganda posters say. And when a confrontation with an evil wizard lands a troop of 9 goblins deep behind enemy lines, Goblin Sergeant Nasilka must figure out how to keep her hapless band together and get them home in one piece. Unfortunately, between them and safety lies a forest full of elves, trolls, monsters, and that most terrifying of creatures, a human being. I really like her books. Okay, second we have, on February 17th, Agnes Albert's Mystical Cat Shelter by Heather Fawcett. This is another one where I'm picking it up based on the author. I really like the Emily Wilde books. I'm hoping I will like this as well. I've already pre-ordered the audiobook for this because I also really like the audiobooks of the Emily Wilde's stories. Agnes Albert leads a meticulously organized life, and she likes it that way. As the proudly Type A manager of a much-needed cat rescue charity, she's devoted her life to finding forever homes for lost cats. But after she is forced to move the cat shelter, Agnes learns that her new landlord is using her charity as a front for an internationally renowned and thoroughly disreputable magic shop. Owned by the disorganized, not to mention self-absorbed, irritating, but also decidedly handsome Havelock Renard, magician and failed Dark Lord, the shop draws magical clientele from around the world, partly due to the quality of Havelock's illicit goods, as well as their curiosity about his shadowy past and rumors of his incredible powers. Agnes's charity offers the perfect cover for illegal magics. Agnes couldn't care less about the shop, magical intrigue or not. There are cats to be rescued, but when an enemy from Havelock's past surfaces, the magic shop and, more importantly, the cat shelter are suddenly in jeopardy. To save the shelter, will Agnes have to set aside her social consequence and protect the man who once tried to bring about the apocalypse and is now trying to steal her heart? I hadn't read the description before. It sounds pretty amusing. Third, we have March 6th, The Library of Amerlin by Kaylin Josephson. This is a cover by. The cover is absolutely gorgeous, and the initial release of it has sprayed edges that are very, very pretty. But I have read the description of this and it sounds very interesting. As former con artist Kassira expected to spend her life as a soldier, miserably working off her prison sentence by hunting down magical creatures for the fanatical kingdom of Kalthos. But when the Kalish ambassador arrives with a non-negotiable assignment, Kassira finds herself swept into the biggest con of her life, infiltrating the library of Amerlin. As the heart of all magic and protector of magical creatures throughout the Six Realms, the library is historically politically neutral. Kassira is meant to pose as the new assistant to spy for the ambassador and to stabilize the library from the inside, clearing the way to dethrone its librarian. But when she arrives, Kassira learns that the library is not all she was told it would be. Neither is the prickly, handsome librarian, Alistair, whose own monstrous secrets are about to catch up with him. Swept into the enchanting world of the library, Kassira's reluctant con is jeopardized by her growing affection for the wondrous life the library promises, and by her complicated, burgeoning attraction to Alistair. As Ambassador's game closes in, Kassira must decide where her loyalties lie, to her newfound home or to her own survival. It sounds really interesting. Takes place in a library. Gotta love that. And the cover is really beautiful. And let's be honest, sometimes we just pick a book because the cover's beautiful. And that's okay. That's why they pay artists to make the cover, so that you want to pick it up. On April 28th, we have The Ballad of Falling Dragons by Sarah A. Parker. I just started reading When the Moon Hatched. I am anticipating loving it and therefore wanting to read the sequel. Obviously, I don't know that, and if I don't like the book, this will fall off of this list, but I don't think that's going to be a problem. I'm only about 60 pages in, but I can see why people love it, and we follow an assassin, and there's dragons. That's pretty much all I know so far. I chose not to read the blurbs about it, but I'm really liking it. So hopefully I'll be wanting to pick up the sequel. May 5th, we have Furybound by Sable Sorensen. This is the sequel to Direbound, which I liked. We follow a main character who joins the army in order to find her sister who's been kidnapped. And at the time she joins, they're sending recruits to try and bond with direwolves. And they kind of form the elite of the army. And against her will, she bonds with the direwolf, and it's all about how she's trying to learn how to manage her powers and this connection that she has. And then there's a little will they, won't they with the instructor. It was good. The ending was kind of whack. I'm sure if I went back and reread it, there might be hints about it, but to me, it kind of felt like it came out of nowhere. I probably will try and reread it before the sequel, just to maybe see if I can pick up on the little pieces that were leading towards the ending. I really liked it, or I remember really liking it, and hopefully book 2 will be really good too. On May 8th, we have The Last Contract of Asako by Fonda Lee. This is another one that I'm picking up because the author has written one of my all-time favorite series. The Greenbone Saga, amazing. No notes. Actually, the third book had a lot of time jumps, like a lot of time jumps. And that was a little bit much, but overall, a fantastic story, very interesting characters, not afraid to kill people off. There's definitely stakes. And so I think this is going to be really good. It sounds more like Greenbone Saga. I didn't love Breath of the Dragon, which is by Fonda Lee and Shannon Lee, who is Bruce Lee's daughter, but I recently found out that that was supposed to be a YA novel, and that could be why YA doesn't tend to hit for me much anymore. It lacked depth and interest and characters that I liked, but this sounds way more interesting. The Last Contract of Asako is a sci-fi. Someone described it as a space opera, which I tend to really enjoy. I've read a couple and I really, really liked them. Space operas feel a little bit like a fantasy story, but in space, and less focus on kind of the more traditional sci-fi elements that have a lot of science, like technology and aliens and all those different things. It's a standalone. I like that because I just wrote down how many series I'm in the middle of, and it's a lot. Asako is a legendary swordswoman, but every legend has to come to an end. When her longtime client unexpectedly retires, she plans to follow to walk out into the frozen wasteland of their planet with her head held high and her family enriched by her legacy. But when a competitor offers her a final mission, it's one she can't refuse. Soon, she's thrust deep into a world of corporate espionage, duty-bound duels, and shadowy secrets. What she uncovers will change humanity's existence in the stars forever. The last contract of Asako is the space opera you didn't know you needed, Corporate Samurai in Space. This is the first adult science fiction novel from the award-winning author of Jade City. So yeah, space opera, love that. Red Rising is a space opera, The Expanse is a space opera, both amazing. And I trust Fondly a lot. Even though I didn't like the last one I read by them, I think this is going to be much more in line with Greenbone Saga level writing. Next, we have on May 12th, Broken Dove by Danny Francis. This is another sequel to a book I have not read yet, but I am anticipating really liking this book. It's a dystopian, it's supposed to be like dystopian fantasy romance. I, like most people of my generation, love dystopians as a preteen and teen, and I still like a good dystopian. I don't read as many of them, not as many of them have come out in recent years. I'm going to be picking Silverleaf up as a buddy read in the next couple of months, so I should know by the time this comes out whether or not I'm actually going to read it. But again, I'm not hard to please. If a lot of people like it, I tend to like it. There's a few things here and there that I haven't liked very much that other people have liked, but for the most part, if it's got a decent story and I really like the characters, I'm sold. Next, we have on May 19th, The Tapestry of Fate by Shannon Chakraborty. This is the sequel to The Adventures of Amina al-Sarifi. I liked that book. I didn't love that book. It was sort of a seafaring story, and the main character is a bit young, or young feeling. This is another one I may have to read a synopsis or reread it before I read the next book, but her Davabad trilogy was really, really good, so hopefully that kind of continues. And this one will also be good. It's not the highest on my list of these books, but I'm not ready to DNF that series. So hopefully it continues to build and get bigger and more interesting. Book number 9, June 2nd, The Unicorn Hunters by Catherine Arden. This is another one that I'm picking up specifically because the author has blown me away with previous work. One of my all-time favorite series is the Winter Night Trilogy by Catherine Arden. Really, really, really liked it. I have not read In the Warm Hands of Ghosts. In the Warm Hands of Ghosts didn't sound like a story that was for me, but this one sounds closer to her Winter Night Trilogy. It says, Anna Brittany was a child when her realm was invaded, her home besieged, and her royal father driven to his death. Now her treasury is empty, her land occupied by her enemies, and she is ordered under threat of renewed war to become queen of her conquerors and marry the king of France. This marriage means her country's annexation, but Anne promised her father that Brittany would never be conquered. Defiantly, she betroths herself in secret to France's greatest enemy. But in a world where courts may spy on each other by magic, there is only one way to solemnize this illicit union. Anne takes her court deep into a legendary forest where the court diviner's skill cannot reach. The world thinks they are only a hunting party, coursing after unicorns. But that is a lie, a trick, a feint. No one in living memory has seen a unicorn. All Anne wants is this secret wedding, which is her only hope of salvation. But when, against all hope, a unicorn appears and a stranger out of legend stumbles from the trees and falls at her feet, Anne is plunged into a world of enchantment where a doomed sovereign might find the power to change her own and her country's destiny or be lost in the shadows forever. Sounds different. Again, probably not the highest on my list. If I manage to get through these other ones, this is probably one of the last ones I would get to. But I trust Catherine Arden. She is an exceptionally good writer, and it's definitely unique. So we'll see. Also on June 2nd is Shadow Reaper by Lynette Noni. This is another one where I have liked previous work by the author. I really liked The Prison Healer. Books 2 and 3, not as much. But the first book was amazing. The way she was able to make it interesting while staying in literally one setting. The entire book happens in a prison. But you're going to kind of different areas of the prison, and there's a mystery element, but they're also trying to kind of get rid of our main character. It was very interesting, very compelling. The ending, wild. Like, I screamed for like 30 seconds. Didn't see it coming. Totally crazy. Again, I didn't super love books 2 and 3, but I haven't read anything else by her. I know she has some other works like that were published before The Prison Healer, but I have not read them. So I think we're gonna try this one. Again, it has really pretty cover and sprayed edges. So we're gonna try this, and if I like this, I might pick up some of her other books. But I believe they're kind of hard to get like physical copies in the US because she is in Australia, and those books were published a while ago. But we'll see. If I like this, maybe we'll pick those up. I don't know, sounds like we have a mystery element with a mist that kills anything it touches, reapers, a bargain with a reaper, and an alliance with a criminal. It's full of relentless twists, enemies to lovers, romance, found family, and high stakes action. I love some found family. I like twists, so I guess we'll see. And we'll see if Lynette Noni is a auto-read author after this one. Next, on July 28th, we have Sea of Charms by Sarah Beth Durst. This is the third book in the Spell Shop series, which is a cozy fantasy. I'm currently reading The Spell Shop. I am expecting to want to read books 2 and 3. It's very cute. Our main character in this one is a librarian. In the first one is a librarian who has to flee the library she works at because of a rebellion, and she goes back to this little island that she lived on as a kid with her parents, and it's kind of starting over life and helping out the locals with different things kind of secretively. She's using magic even though it was forbidden before the rebellion, and we really don't know what happened over there. Like, all we've really talked about so far is what's happening on the island, and we don't really know the story behind why she had to leave, besides the fact that there were rebels burning books. But we don't know kind of what the conclusion of that situation was, and I'm imagining we'll find out at some point, because it's kind of relevant to the story as far as the decisions she's making and if she's going to get in trouble for them or not. So I'm really liking it so far. It's cute. It's fun. There's a sentient spider plant. We're sensing a theme here about things that shouldn't be sentient that are. But I'm liking it, and I am anticipating wanting to keep going. They're fun and easy and a good palate cleanser. I'm really looking forward to that one. I think that'll be really fun. August 28th, Daggerbound by T. Kingfisher. I've kind of already explained my logic behind Kingfisher. Those two books made it auto-read for me. If I've read like another one or two of her books and they just don't work for me, I might kind of give up there. But so far, I like those two so much that even the one I read that I wasn't a fan of wasn't enough to keep me from reading her books. So I have Sword Heart still to read. That's on my list to... Poor Peach. Cat just knocked the stand. She can't see, so... Poor baby. So I have Sword Heart to read still. I want to get to that one really soon. I'm thinking if I read one or two more of hers and they're still working for me, we're going to keep going into some of her other books. If they're not, we may slow down on T. Kingfisher. But for now, I'll read anything they write. This next one doesn't have a release date. We just know it's supposed to be summer of 2026. It's Red God by Pierce Brown, which is book 7 in the Red Rising series. I Love, love, love Red Rising. I still have to read book 6. I do not know why I have not read it yet. It's very, very high on my list. I had wanted to reread the first 5 before I got to book 6. And then I reread them. I listened to them on audio. And then I just kept not picking it up and kept not picking it up. And I think it's just, I want the perfect time to read it, to sit down and really enjoy it. And that perfect time does not exist. So I just haven't. But after I get through Empire of the Vampire, book 3, not Empire of the Dawn, I think that's going to be next. It's either that or Brimstone. We'll see. So excited for book 7. It's supposed to be the conclusion, although I did read something somewhere that said that he might have to split this one as well. I thought that's what he had to do for book 6, and that's why there's book 7. So I don't know if that person was confused and was thinking about when he was writing book 6, how he had to make it 2 books instead of 1 book like it was supposed to be, or if indeed the 7th book is going to be so long that he might have to make that an 8th book. But I feel like since we know it's supposed to release in the summer, he would have already told us that there was going to be an 8th book. So we'll see. We'll see if this is the conclusion or not as we get closer and they give us a release date. I'm really, really, really excited for that one. And last is on September 1st, The Knave and the Moon by Rachel Gillig. This is another one that is a sequel to a book I have not read yet, but I do plan on reading that soon. I'm doing some buddy reads with a friend of mine, and we're kind of alternating between these 2 different trilogies and then these first books in a series of romantasy books. So When the Moon Hatched, Silver Elite, and The Night and the Moth. And we're kind of alternating one from the trilogy, one from the other trilogy, and then a fantasy romance or a romantasy. So that is, The Night and the Moth is probably the last one we'll do because it is the furthest one out that the sequel is going to be published. But we're definitely getting to that. And I am anticipating liking it enough to continue on with book 2. Those are all 14 books, anticipated releases for 2026. Please let me know in the comments which ones you're looking forward to. If you liked the first book in the series that I haven't read yet, or disliked it, and maybe why, help me out. And thank you so much for watching, and see you next time. Bye.